Welcome to the Leadership Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Jono White. I'm the founder and principal consultant of Clarity. We are an Australian-based consultancy that works with leaders around the world, and our passion is to invest in people to become everything they're meant to be in order to fill the world with healthy organizations that people love to work for and customers line up to buy from. The goal of this podcast is to invest in you and your leadership. If you're just joining us for the first time, then feel free to check out consultclarity.org. That's our website, consultclarity.org. We have so many free resources on there, the most popular being our 7 Questions on Leadership series. We've had more than 1,500 leaders from around the world in all different sectors give their in-depth answers on leadership, what books they love, what they found most challenging, the most meaningful stories, how they structure their time through the day. That's free, so go and check it out. And we'd love to interview you about your leadership. I believe you have advice from your experience, your context, and your life so far that is important and can help other leaders. It's also a great way to give back. It's free to get involved, and you can do so by going to consultclarity.org/7-questions-interest, or just Google consultclarity.org 7 questions interest and fill out the form that pops up. We have a free resource for you on our website. It's called Leadership Survival Guide. It's a 57-page ebook. It has interviews with 10 world-class leaders, and you can go to consultclarity.org. It's right at the top, and get that today. We also have a daily email that we send out to over 15,000 leaders, and that email contains the highlights, our best content from our podcasts, our blog, my book, the books that we're loving that are out there about leadership. It's also the best way to get access to our masterclasses and workshops before anyone else. And there's also exclusive and limited special options just for subscribers. And you can subscribe by going to consultclarity.org/subscribe. Now, my gift to you is to work incredibly hard to provide the best leadership content I can to invest in you and your leadership. So if you're finding our content helpful, if you find this podcast helpful, then your gift to me could be this. If you do find it helpful, then write a review or rate our content and make sure you subscribe or follow. I can't emphasize enough how helpful that is. It really does help us to get the word out there so we can invest in more leaders to become everything they're meant to be. It also means a lot to me personally when people like you and people in our community share our content on social media. So if you do that, then please do look for me, Jono White, to tag me, and look to tag Clarity on whatever platform you're on. And our team, including me, I'm always looking to see when people have mentioned us so that I can engage with you. And also we look at sharing content. So if you write something about something we've done, there's also a good chance we'll share that with our followers. So if you could do that, that is a massive, massive help as we try to invest in as many leaders as we can around the world. Last of all, you can check out my book about how to deal with difficult people even if you hate conflict. It's called Step Up or Step Out. It's available on Amazon. You can just look up Step Up or Step Out Jono White, or you can go to store.consultclarity.org/book and check it out there. I have coached leader after leader after leader, and in more than 50% of the sessions, this topic comes up. How do I deal with this person? I'm finding it really difficult, and I just want to find a way that doesn't blow up to just to have a difficult conversation, to lead them better. How do I do that? There's a 3-step process that I outline in this book that I believe can help you. Okay, let's get into today's episode of the Leadership Conversations podcast. Enjoy. Welcome to another episode of the Leadership Conversations podcast. Today's guest is Venkat Padmanabhan, and Venkat is the chairman of Venkat Padmanabhan Group, and we're going to hear a bit more about what he does and what the group does as well, but most importantly about Venkat's story. So welcome to the podcast, Venkat.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much. You're doing an extremely good job of, inspiring many people. Looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much. You're very kind. Well, first of all, tell us about what you do. Tell us about the group of companies you lead as chairman, and also about what you do in that role, and any other hats you wear that you want to you want to mention to us, Venkat.
Hey, thank you so much. So I just retired after roughly about 32 years of corporate life, of which 28 years I was with a fascinating company called Valam Group. I joined as a second employee in their Indian operation, and then we grew up to $40 billion operations operating in about 65 countries, 87,000 employees, and so on and so forth. So, having retired, I thought I should do something back to the society, which I've been doing it as a part time. Now I'm doing it full time. So, predominantly, my role is, for the entrepreneurs, I call myself E to E, entrepreneur to enterprise, a startup to Fortune 500. That's our vision. Anybody can become a Fortune 500 if they want to grow. Whatever little bit of experience I have, I share with them and learn from them, and then we navigate the journey. So that's what my role. And so that, having said, many entrepreneurs approach me, and then I'm acting as an advisor, investor, chairman for their group of companies, predominantly guiding them. A startup should function like an MNC in terms of governance and process. So that's what I do, and I really enjoy this process.
Yeah, incredible. Wonderful initiative that you are leading, and wonderful to hear what you're doing now that you have retired from corporate life, but you really want to give back. So thank you for sharing that, Venkat. Let's jump into your story. I would love to start with your childhood and growing up when you were little. What were some of the moments from that season of your life when you were young that really shaped you into the person and the leader you are today?
Yeah, great. It's a great question. So my inspiration, or whomsoever I am today, a lot goes to my mother. Right? I was not a very studious student when I was studying, and I studied in a vernacular language, which is Tamil. All my subjects, including science, even I can't speak a word of English fluently till I was, completing my 10th standard. Right? My mother used to give some, over the days, tell very inspirational stories from mythology to say that how the kings of the world and history, people have made this world a beautiful place, and that's more of a story time. And then also she talks about her influences, that is her own brothers and everybody, how they made the life from nowhere to somebody today. And those inspiration stories, whenever I hear, whether it's a mythology related or is it related to the real life stories, I get inspired. So when I was as a child, I used to imagine I'm a leader. I used to sit there. I used to look at the sky, and I create stories of my own. Right. So the real inspiration is from my mother. That's what I call. She's not very literate, but she had a lot of values to teach me, and which is what embedded in my life.
Yeah, incredible. Your mother sounds like a wonderful woman. Can you tell us, are there any stories specifically about your mum? And it sounds like she had a great work ethic and she was really inspired you. Any stories of how she handled a crisis or how she, something that stood out to you, some advice she gave you?
Yeah. So by God's grace today, I'm much well off, and I'm in Singapore. But I grew up in a place called Trivandrum, which is in the southernmost part of India. We call our state as God's own country, Kerala. So she got married, and my father used to be working in a textile factory. It's a three shapes, so he's into the supervisory cadre, working class. But I never felt during the time of my growing up that any inadequacy, whether you are a poor or, always I felt I'm rich. Never ever felt, stooping before anybody, because that's the way my parents grew up me, saying that we were very proud what we are. We had a very rich friends and poor friends together, and I never felt I was missing something. I think that's the biggest value of how to grow up me, leading a simple life, but not feeling that I'm missing something. That means, as compared to the people around and the richness, the cars or houses or nothing made me feel inferior. I think that attribute or quality was, which is part of me all through my life, is it's a magic. Even I don't know how she has done it, but I never felt it. That's one thing. Second thing is, I think she always talks about what matters is, there are many people are born and died, but as a human being, when you're born in this world, you have to have a differentiation. You need to create a legacy. You need to leave some positive footprints. My mother always used to say, when you're in deathbed, people should not say, "Oh, this guy is gone. Good for the world." They should have a few comments at least to say that he touched some people's life meaningfully. This she brings the stories of mythology because we are from Hindu religion. So she talks about Rama and Krishna and all those stories, and she says that how many hardships, how they still stood by the value systems. Like that, she tells many stories, and that has gone into me deeply, deeply influencing whatever I do till now, every moment of my life.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing about your mum. That's really special, and I can hear how much of an influence she has had on your life. And yeah, that's wonderful. From there, I guess, Venkat, I'm interested to hear, do you remember one of your first leadership opportunities when you were little, or maybe when you were older in your 20s or 30s? Do you remember the first time you really had to lead people or cast vision, where you had a leadership opportunity of some sort?
Yeah. So the two incidents I vividly remember. I think it must be around 10 or 12. I think so. So the first one is, we were living in a village. So for any functions, religious functions, we used to collect donations and create a chariot and go around the street. That used to be the tradition. I vividly remember that I organized those processions, they call Krishna, Lord Krishna's birthday, those kind of occasions. It's a small money. We would have collected some 20, 30 rupees, which is less than $1 at that time. But that's good enough. It's a big money for us to organize many things. So there I used to have a team of volunteers because it's all voluntary work. We need to decorate the streets and we need to decorate the chariot which we are pulling across. So there, I think I had a team, and then we used to do it every year. That's one experience I remember, and they are still lifelong friends for me. The second one, I felt that we should start a library. That I was in around 14, I think so. So I've created it's called RR Library. So we used to charge 2 rupees. It's a very small amount at that time for people, and then we used to have volunteers who go and distribute these books and magazine to the houses. Per month, 2 rupees we collect, and then the reason was, again, my mother used to tell me always, the biggest companion for you at that time, there are not TVs or WhatsApp and smartphones, is reading. Books are your companion, and some other I got fascinated, so we used to buy books for to read myself, but I thought I would make a business out of it, and let many people also benefit out of it. That's how we created that library. So these are the two moments I remember in my primitive age,
Yeah.
so-called leadership experience.
So what were the biggest lessons from those two early experiences? What were the big lessons you learned early on as a leader?
Yeah, if I start reflecting on that, the one thing is very clear: why people are aligned and behind you for a voluntary work. See, voluntary work is one area where it's the most difficult job because nobody reports to nobody, but still they get aligned. So that alignment is for the purpose, which is what, again, another one habit or another value system which is embedded in me, the big P and small p. The purpose, so long as it's aligned, you will get people rally around that purpose. Though you may be standing in front as a leader, but you're not the leader. The purpose is the leader. You are an instrument in executing that purpose, and that is what will drive whatever you do. And that's what, if you look at my social media and everything, you'll see whatever activities which I started much later, pro bono or otherwise, I get 250, 300, 400, many people coming and helping. How people are wondering how I'm able to run it. I think now, if I reflect back, it is not me at all. It is the purpose for which I'm getting aligning, and thus there is no friction. Everybody is aligned to the cause which you're driving.
Yeah, that's incredible, and I couldn't agree more. That if you can really do purpose well and help people understand the purpose of what they're doing, that's a real game changer. So throughout your career, Venkat, I know there's so many different things we could talk about, but I'd love to hear who have been some of the mentors, who have been some of the leaders who have influenced you, who have had a legacy of really inspiring you as a leader along the way.
Yeah. The first and foremost person I have to talk about, I mean, again, I'm not in touch with him. I don't know where is he, but he's a symbol man, leader called Radhakrishnan, Professor Radhakrishnan. He's the guy who taught me the organization and management. It's a subject in my BCom, in my commerce graduate, first year of commerce. Like I said, I was not a studious at all till my 12th. You know, I never sit and studied anything. But this gentleman, when he taught me this commerce, there is something called F.W. Taylor, time and motion study, etc., and span of control. So when he was teaching me this organization and management, something has triggered in me, which I call, seed in my subconscious mind. I got fascinated. And that day, I assumed that I'm a general manager. I'm from a village. I have a cycle, and very, very, you can say, middle class family. But as soon as the class is finished, I started riding the cycle as if I'm behind a, Mercedes 450 chauffeur-driven car. And, that's how I pedal my cycle. And from that day onwards, I used to go on top of a hill and visualize that whatever he taught me, as if I'm the general manager. I'm managing many people all across the world and plants, etc. So the reason why I'm telling you is that changed. That day onwards, I'm not studying for getting marks. I was a rank holder from nobody. I became a rank holder in my graduation. Then after that, I did many, many difficult exams, charter accountants, cost accounting, I did company secretary and law, various things I'm able to just pass by more as a hobby, more as wanting to get to know the subject and, get immersed in that rather than scoring marks. That change was caused by that gentleman called Radhakrishnan, Professor Radhakrishnan. Any day I owe a lot to him. So he's one to talk about. Then I talk about Gopakumar. Then I talk about, those days Keshav Pillai in my career, who was the Kerala State Electricity Board chairman. And my first job, again, see, some of the choices we make in life is matters. When I passed out my CA, I had two, three offers in my hand. I could have been in a very comfortable position in the city where I live. I could have got a job and that I'm well paying. But I choose to go travel about 3 hours or 4 hours a day or stay there overnight in a remote location. I joined a small manufacturing plant where this chairman used to be the chairman of the company. So at the very, very early stage itself, I was sitting in my first job itself. I'm sitting in the board. I was a board member representing, the company, and I had the privilege and honor of interacting with this chairman and his ED, executive director, Mr. Unitan. That again changed my life in terms of the experience and exposures. I had faced union, I faced financial negotiations all at the age of 22, 23. For a small company, very, very small company, 30 lakhs company, which is, maybe 30, $40,000 turnover company. But that experience and the mentorship which I got from Mr. Keshav Pillai, who's still alive, I'm in touch with him, is changed my life for good. Always continue to guide me.
Wow. That's incredible, and thank you so much for articulating those people who had such a big influence on you and those moments that really shifted your trajectory in life. It's incredible to hear. From I guess from your career, I'm interested in aha moments along the way. Can you think of any aha moments, any other shifts that you didn't mention there, where you learnt something about leadership, or you learned something about managing people, or about strategy, and it's always stuck with you?
Yeah, that's so. I talked about this company where I was working small company. Then I moved to Topper Group 2 years. So my hobby at that time used to be I don't know for what reason, but apply for jobs. I get offers, and because I really want to go out of my village into a bigger city. But my employer has always promoted me 3 4 times. In 2 years I got 3 4 promotions. That is what used to be my life. Then I happened to one of my friend came and told me that there is an advertisement in paper that they're looking for in an MNC. See, the Trivandrum is like a village even now, but at that time it is really village. It's a very nice capital city of Kerala, but we have we maintain tradition. It's it's not become too cosmopolitan. So they said that a multinational company is coming to Trivandrum, the place where I'm there. Do you do you want to apply for it? I said, what does that advertisement ask for? It says 35 to 40 years of age, and you should have, 10 years of experience, blah, blah, blah. I said, nothing I have because I'm only 25. So how I'm going to be fit into this role? I'm not even going to apply because I don't want to waste my time, but I'm planning to go to Mumbai, which is everybody looks upon in India as a commercial capital. And I got a job also in Mumbai with Godrej. But because my friends are so insistent, I said I just learned computer 1 year back. I typed out a small, application which I still preserve. I sent to them saying that, guys, look at me. I'm only 25, you're a young boy. But whatever qualification you talk about, I have. Whatever experience you have talk about, I have a bit of it because I've done it in my company. This is how I grew. But if you believe that a 25-year-old can do this job, call me for interview. Something like that. I wrote the mail and then sent to them physical letter. At that time, I don't think an email existed. I got a call. I went and attended the interview. Everybody was sitting around. My interview colleagues are 40, 45, very seasoned professionals. I'm a young kid, just going there, young youth, going there. And, since I know that I didn't have any fear whether I'll get or not, I had a 2 rounds of discussion, and to cut the story short, I got the job. That was a wow moment because they said that and they offered me a car at the time. That was a made a change for me to stay put there. Having got the job, the real wow factor or the deciding factor is the day when I want to join the company. When I walk into the office, there's no office. Nobody knows there is an office there. I thought I've been conned. When I go into that some place which they call as an office, it's a huge hall, no light, just an empty hall, and only one gentleman sitting and one secretary sitting. I said, what did I do in my life? Having working for 400 people and being a leader for so many people below me. Now I'm here standing alone in a place just because I got attracted for the offer of a MNC and a car. I thought I made the biggest mistake in my life because I went and said everybody that I don't want to, take up the job which I got. But later I realized I'm the second employee of that company. We have to design the office, we have to create the office, we have to recruit the team. That was a wow moment because within 3 years, we had about 2,000 people. We were all over India. We moved up to Bangalore. We had a fantastic office. All that we could achieve because that moment I've decided that, this is the place rather than looking at the title and positions and people reporting. Though I am a second man, I'm ready to go and buy an air conditioner for office or to recruit a staff or to buy other things for office or even to purchase or procure or put systems. That life has changed, and from that till I now step down, I haven't applied for any job. Right, that's my Walam group. At the time, it was not even called Walam. It was a Chandra when I joined. But fascinating journey from a couple of $1 million company to $40 million with my mentor Sunny. That's how the life changed.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. What an amazing story. And from thinking, wow, have I made a mistake, to being able to reflect on that. And it's been, what an incredible journey, what an amazing legacy to be part of the journey of such a significant company. Let's jump into some Leadership Express questions. The first one I have for you, Venkat, is: Are there any books that you've read that you give as gifts to people, or you recommend a lot to people?
Yeah. The one book which changed my life, I'm becoming emotional when I talk about the book. It's a small, tiny book. One of my friend Prashant gifted to me. Is called The Alchemist. Oh God, that book I would have read some 10, 12 times. I would have spoken about the book, and that is one book I give to people. Before I got introduced to Alchemist, the other book which I'm really fascinated is Jack Welch's The Art of Winning. I think these are the two books I always recommend, even if you don't read any books. Just start with Alchemist, so that will tell you about
Mm.
yourself and self-discovery, and then
Hmm.
Art of Winning will tell you how to build an organization.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for those recommendations. What advice would you give to leaders about how to run a one-on-one meeting? Are there any things that you learned about doing one-on-one meetings with your team members that you give as advice to leaders out there?
Yeah. So first and foremost thing is not a meeting. Anything and everything you do, give in 100%. 100% of yourself. If you are playing with your child, don't think about anything else, you play. Similarly, when you are in the meeting, give that all the effort, all the attention, energy to your team. That's first thing. That means you go there, no distracted, no phone, nothing should distract. Second, listen, because many times you will have an agenda and you want to say and you want to continue to rebut. When you hear itself, I mean, I'm using the word hear, not listen, because then the hearing is not going inside, because you will not even understand the gist of what they're saying. That you can only do when you listen, but you go and rebut. So the second attribute is listening, right? And third, of course, eye to eye contact. Take concern on the people. Even if they do a mistake, it is not the person is the mistake. That situation, that issue which is talking. So if you differentiate the problem from the person, you will build a fantastic relationship with anybody and everybody in the world. Unfortunately, human mind is we combine the issue with the person, and then we take our anger on the person or rather than the situation, and that is what is causing all the difference of opinions all across the world, be it a government, be it a person, or be it a company.
Yeah, wonderful advice. Great to hear you talk about listening and about bringing your full presence and attention when you're with your people. I think that's wonderful advice. What about what's one thing that you think a lot of leaders could stop doing to become better leaders?
The judgment, because we are quick to judge people by appearance, or by there is a 2 minutes rule which people used to say that but I realize that's not right, because we judge on people based on the experience and say, and I've seen in my own experience that somebody who has been in a ABCD ranking of their performance, whom we thought a C category for the role which he was playing, a CFO role, when you moved him into a specialized functions head, he became a A. So the problem is not with him, it is because of you as a leader not able to match the right job for the right people, right? So the judgment, dispense your judgment, look at that person in terms of what his potential and give him that kind of role. And same with your, what is called marketing or a business or strategy in every issue. Don't come to close quick judgments and close it out. We have an open mind.
Mm, love it. That's a great perspective. I love that answer to that question. Stop judging and keep an open mind. And it comes back to what you said as well about one-on-ones, to separate the person from the issue. So great advice, Venkat. Here's another question for you. When it comes to leadership, a lot of leaders are interested in routine and personal, not only how they lead at work, but how they build their life and how they live. Work life integration. What are your thoughts on a morning routine? Do you have anything throughout your career that's always stayed the same with your morning routine? Do you are you a big fan of waking up very early, or you don't think that's important? Tell us about your thoughts on a morning routine for leaders.
Yeah, perfect. So currently I have a morning routine, which is for the last 3.5 years I've been following religiously. To be very frank, I've devised a system to bring some discipline for me, but it has become now a habit, and I'm falling in love with that, what I'm doing, which is called date with nature. I call myself, because the best girlfriend in the world is the nature. You go and look at her every day, she's beautiful. How many number of times you could see she is fresh. So date with nature and no agenda, walk and talk. So I get up around 5:30 in the morning. Anywhere between 6 to 6:30, I go for a walk with one more person. I don't go in a group normally, very rarely go. So that one person, when he comes, not a tactical meeting, I say that come and walk without any agenda. So we get to know the person inside out on values, and similarly, they will get to know about me, and we just walk for 2.5 hours, 3 hours. So, for example, 6 to 9, which is a long hours. I mean, no other goal to say so many steps or kilometer, nothing. Just go as the legs, and we enjoy the walking, and the weather is good. Come back, and I'm glad to say that about 485 people, or even 488, I think so. My secretary was telling me on the day that, I met them, because the reason I maintain is whom I met, and, it's fresh in my mind. By looking at the name, I know the story behind it. So that's one habit I do every day without fail, almost every day, unless I'm sick or whatever. That's one area. But if you ask me that is it stayed with you all through, no, I am slightly of a believer that don't get change yourself for anything. Be like a wildflower. Don't try to be prune yourself to say this is how I will behave. This, of course, I've done it because I want a discipline, but now it's become a habit, and I start loving that, looking forward to the company, hence I'm doing it. But don't do it anything because it is good to do. Of course, people say 4 o'clock getting up is good, which I agree. It's fresh in mind, and morning we have a lot more things you can complete. But you should not beat yourself if you're not doing it. Start for a reason and put a system. See, the world around is for including you. You need to have a little bit of system, so that anything which you want to do, rather than talking, you do the first action, which is called the decision, and then action, one step at a time. For you to do that, a system is required. This system which I designed, which is called No Agenda Walk and Talk, is for my fitness. I lost 6 kilos. I'm full of energy the whole day because I've done a fantastic walk. Whether it's rain or shine, I go. That's how I made my habit. Stick with me.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that perspective. I think one of my favorite things recently that I've come across around habits and routines is by Andrew Huberman, who is a professor at Stanford University in the US. And he talks about habits as this idea of you don't want to actually create you don't want to have habits in your life that rely on routine, like we might assume. What you want to do is you want to train yourself to reduce the friction and the tension to be able to do what you need to do. So you actually want to reduce the friction so that you can, like you said, you can react to what's going on. If you need to fly and not have as much sleep, what does it look like to be able to build habits and actually so that I can adjust and react really well? I think it's a really interesting way to approach it, rather than trying to have a cookie cutter where when life changes, I'm then completely thrown out and can't handle things anymore.
Super. Just since you use the word, I think I need to say something on that.
Mm.
Beautiful. I think exactly right. Now, there's I mean, whether you any relationship, I think one more advice I want to give it to my viewers is, this is called reacting and responding. You hit me on my cheek, and I hit back. That's called reaction, because I got angry, I reacted back to you. Respond means I take a couple of seconds in between. Hey, why he hit me? What should I give him the message? And with that cool mind, if I'm able to hit you back, I still hit you. Then I'm responding. That means it's a conscious decision rather than knee-jerk reaction. Because
Yes.
most of the mistakes, including the Putin's war in Ukraine, is a knee-jerk reaction. And so
Mm.
now they cannot go back. If they would have responded, world would have been a much, much better place. So I'm trying to practice as much possible to respond to the situation than reacting.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Responding rather than reacting. That's a great thought. Okay, last question. This has been so much fun. I've just loved getting your wisdom, Venkat. The last question I have for you: if you could only give one piece of leadership advice to a young leader, what would you say to them?
Please, how you look at your mirror, look at yourself. You are the competition for yourself. The world don't compare with anybody. You are better than yesterday by a millimeter. Give a big applause. You love yourself. If you don't love yourself, the world won't love you. You are the best in the world, and every day the millimeter change is what make you to grow to your fullest potential. All the very best.
Yeah, incredible, wonderful, wonderful thoughts. For people who've really enjoyed hearing your story and your wisdom on leadership, where can people find you and the group that you're chairman of? Where can people find you and connect with you online, Venkat?
Yes, I'm very active. For the last 5 years, I'm very active in social media. So in LinkedIn, my profile is venkita@gmail.com, which is my email ID in which I'm very active on LinkedIn. And Facebook is venkita@hotmail.com. So people can reach out to me. I love to connect with people. And then, of course, if I visit some of these locations, I'll meet you also in person. Thank you so much. And I really enjoyed your way of questioning and what you're doing. I'm really looking forward to visiting Brisbane and meet you in person. Soon I'll make a visit.
Absolutely. No, that would be wonderful. I look forward to it, and the same goes for when I'm in Singapore. Would love to catch up when I'm there as well. So I want to thank our listeners for tuning in. What a fun episode! Just great stories about Venkat's mum and being part of such a massive, massive growth of an organization. Just really inspiring stories. For our listeners, don't forget, I also have the John O. White Leadership Podcast and the Leadership Question of the Day podcast. So there are two other places you can go to invest in your leadership. But I want to finish today by saying a massive thank you to you, Venkat, for being so generous with your time and for, like I said, sharing wonderful and really beautiful stories from your life and leadership, and for being such a joy to spend time with. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Same here. I thoroughly enjoyed each of your questions and fantastic discussion we had. Thank you so much and continue to inspire the world with what you're doing. Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Leadership Conversations podcast as much as I did. If you're joining us for the first time, don't forget to check out consultclarity.org. That's our website, consultclarity.org. We have so many free resources on there, including our 7 Questions on Leadership series. We've had more than 1,500 leaders from all over the world in all different roles, in different industries, answer these 7 questions on leadership, and leaders give these in-depth answers around how they spend their time, a book that's been significant for them. It's just a gold mine. It's completely free to access, so go to consultclarity.org and look for that. We'd also love to interview you about your leadership. I believe your experience, your life, your context means that you have advice on leadership that other leaders can learn from. Yes, you, if you're going, not me, well, no, I really believe you would have something to add. So if you're looking for a way to give back, it's completely free to get involved. And we would love to interview you through the 7 Questions on Leadership. You just go to consultclarity.org/7-questions-interest, or Google consultclarity.org 7 questions interest and fill out the form and get involved. We have a free resource on our website called the Leadership Survival Guide. It's a 57-page ebook, 10 world-class leaders giving their thoughts on leadership, and that's completely free. It's available on our homepage, consultclarity.org, right at the top, so make sure you go and get that and download it today. And we have a free daily email that you can subscribe to. We send this out to over 15,000 leaders from around the world. And it contains the highlights of content from our podcasts, our blogs, our books we're reading. It's got the best content, and it gives you exclusive, limited, early access to our masterclasses, workshops, new products, special offers. It's all for our subscribers. You can go to consultclarity.org/subscribe and join 15,000 other leaders. And you know, my gift to you is to work really hard, particularly through the Leadership Conversations podcast. I have been blown away by the quality of the leaders, and I'm learning as much as anyone in doing these interviews. So I'm having a great time. And my gift to you is to keep lining up the best leaders I can to invest in your leadership. Your gift to me, if you're finding this helpful, there is something that you could do that would help us out massively. And that is to write a review and to leave a rating for our podcast or wherever you're watching or listening to this. I can't tell you how much that helps us out. Also, subscribe or follow. It really does make a difference in helping us to help more leaders become everything they're meant to be. Another thing that means a lot to me personally is when I see our community share our content. So if you do share this or any other piece of content on social media, then thank you, and please do that. And look for me, John O'White, or Clarity, and tag us in your post. Our team is always looking for posts to engage with from our community, and there's also a chance that we'll share your content to go beyond and share it with our followers. Last of all, you can check out my book. It's called Step Up or Step Out: How to Deal with Difficult People Even If You Hate Conflict. I wrote this book because 50% of the coaching sessions I have with leaders, this topic comes up again and again and again. And it's this idea of, how do I have this difficult conversation? How do I lead this person better when I'm finding them difficult? Or in some cases, you look and you say, I think I might be leading a difficult person. They're just quite difficult to lead, or I'm finding them quite difficult to lead. So there's a 3-step process that I unpack in Step Up or Step Out. And the amazing thing, and I've literally done this myself, and I've heard it anecdotally from other leaders as I've coached them, is that if you follow this process, you will see that person step up and change their behavior or make a decision, which is to step out some of the time. 95% of the time, people will step up or step out in just 4 weeks. And I stand by that. It's you have to read the book to understand, but I really do believe in it, and I've experienced it firsthand. It works.